everybody. Welcome to the 9 Essentials of Web Success. First of all, thanks for joining us. I'm Marjorie Gates, Digital Marketing Manager for Broad Street Consulting. I've been working with Broad Street for about 6 years. I'm Google AdWords certified. I do a lot of the content development, email, social media marketing, search engine marketing, and optimization, and a whole lot more. Just to let you know, the GoToMeeting chat board's being monitored, so if you have any questions or comments during the presentation, feel free to type it in the chat and we'll address it at the end of the presentation. Also, I'm monitoring the Facebook group for the same reason. Right now, everybody's muted, so there won't be interruptions and background noise, but we'll open up the lines at the end and do a Q&A. So without further ado, here's Tom Sliker.
Hello. Hello, this is Tom Sliker. I'm happy to see you today. Today we're going to talk about website strategy, content, and search. So this is the second part of a series called Web Success, the 9 Essentials of Web Success. Session 1 is available if you go out to that link right there, that bit.ly link, Web Success Intro, or out to the Web Success page on broadstreetconsulting.net. The purpose of Web Success, just a reminder, if you haven't been to one of the previous sessions, we're going to share with you from our many years of experience some of the keys to building your online presence for your small business. Be number one on Google, dominate local markets, sell your products online, and stay connected with customers and reach new generation of customers. So that's where we're headed today. Just a really quick review. We talked last week about this concept that what we're trying to do here is this is about reaching people on the internet, right? So we've got in the bottom right corner these people we call searchers that are out there on the internet looking for something, okay? And so the idea is how do we build a website and promote it in such a way that these searchers will find us when they're looking for somebody just like us, okay? And how do we present ourselves to them in their time of need, okay? And so we start with the searchers out there. They're using these tools like Google or Maps or Yahoo or Bing or Yelp or whatever they're doing, but they're out there looking for stuff, looking for information, looking for services, looking for products. And so how do we present ourselves in such a way that we might draw them from the searching phase into some kind of following phase, okay? And that includes social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. But the idea is that we take folks that don't know us, they're looking for somebody like us, they see us, and they're interested, okay? And they go from being searchers to being followers, and then hopefully to being prospects and ultimately customers. Now, sometimes this process takes just a few seconds. You know, if they search for something and they see you as, you know, say number one on Google, then you know, they may click and go to your website and immediately call or transact commerce and buy something. So this can be very quick, but in more times than not, this is something that takes time. People have to kind of get to know you a little bit, and that's what our process really works toward. So we talked about this web success strategy. This is just another look at that. But these 9, the 7 in red and the 2 in the blue there, these are what we're calling the 9 essentials of web success, okay? So today what we're going to focus mostly on, we're going to talk about a website strategy. So why have a website? What are you going to do with your website? What are some key things that you want to do you know, that you want to consider as you build your website? How do you make it successful? And then we're going to talk about search. So how does this search thing work? How does Google work? How do websites appear on the Google results page? And that involves something called SEO, search engine optimization. So there's ways that we can build our website and things we can do to show up first on Google. And then also we're going to talk a little bit about content strategy, and because ultimately content is what drives people to your website and what favors you in Google. So that's kind of the framework of what we're trying to accomplish. All right, you hopefully got a email or somewhere you've seen this link out on the web success page or on the sign up page. There's a link to the downloads folder. It's broadstreetconsulting.net/downloads. But there were these documents, these strategy documents that we've created. There's, I believe, 9 of them. And these 3 here are the ones that we're going to be talking about today. Okay, so we've got the website strategy, search, and content. Now, I don't know if you looked at these closely, but at the bottom of each of these, there's a number of questions. And the idea is to get you thinking about your strategy, to get you thinking about what is it you really want to accomplish in these different areas. And so I'm not going to go through all these, but the idea is, like, for your website strategy, you know, who is your target audience? Thinking about who's going to be coming to your website. What are they looking for when they get there? You know, are you answering their questions? You know, how does it relate to your brand, et cetera? So anyway, search, we'll talk about keywords. Content, we'll talk about what might make you stand out, what you can do to contribute information to your customers and prospective customers. So those are there for you to look at later. I don't expect to answer all these questions today or give you all that you need to think through these things, but I'm hoping over the next 9 weeks we will address most of these things, and hopefully by then you'll have a really solid understanding of what you want to accomplish in these different strategies. So for today, I want you to understand the value of the website for your business, gain the tools and considerations for developing a strategy. We'll talk about how Google search works. I want you to understand that, the value of keywords. This Google Plus My Business listing is very important, and we're going want you to really get a good feel for how that works and why you should take advantage of that. And then we're going to look at the Google search engine results page and talk about the basics of search engine optimization. So with that, Google. So most internet experiences start with a search. It's generally somebody going out and looking for something. And so Google is by far the leader in search engines. I'm going to share a couple statistics here. You know, alternatives to Google, primarily Bing and Yahoo. If you notice, the bottom left there is the combined mobile and desktop. Okay, so Google's pretty dominant here, 85% of the market, and Yahoo and Bing each with 6% and some others. So the reason I bring that up is because most of our examples will be about Google. We are, my company, Broad Street Consulting, is a Google partner. And so we tend to do things the Google way. We look at things the Google way. And we definitely would say we have a bias toward Google compared to Bing and Yahoo. But really, all the things that we talk about today will apply to Yahoo and Bing just as well as Google. All right, I'm going to share some examples, and I'm just going to give you a little background, but this is one of our clients, COTDOC, COTDOC.com. And what they do is they use, they make parts and sell parts for 2 types of ambulance stretchers, Furno and Stryker, the 2 manufacturers. Each of those brands has a number of different models, and they sell all the different parts for all the different models. So what I want to talk about is search, right? So when you go to Google and you type in Stryker Power Pro parts, I want to look at what comes up and why. Okay, so number 1 result for Stryker Power Pro parts is, surprise, surprise, it's COTDOC. Okay, and in particular, it's the COTDOC Stryker Power Pro parts page. Okay, and that links you to this, which is a page that's specifically built to talk about parts for the Stryker Power Pro. And so we have what I will call an exact match here. Okay, we've got the words that people typed in, Stryker Power Pro parts, and it matches very well with what this page is all about. You can see from the header there. You can also see the page title. I just made it appear in the top right corner there, where you can see the little tab. So that's what's known as your page title. So these are all very important aspects in being found on Google. So first of all, the page title is important, the header information, and then any content on the page all kind of adds together to Google to say, hey, this is a relevant page for this particular search. The other thing is there's codes behind the scene here, which you can see these things we call meta tags, and that's things that can be that need to be on your website that are behind the scenes that most people won't ever see them, but the robots do. Google sees them when they go searching the internet every night. Bing and Yahoo, when they go around searching, they see these codes and they can use that information to draw a better picture of what your website and what this web page is all about. Another search. Okay, so the other thing I want to mention there that I think is impressive is that if you notice, we're the first search result for Striker Power Pro. We're also the second result. So Striker MX is coming up second. Our Striker Easy Pro is coming up third. And then we have a couple other sites. And then if you notice at the bottom there is Striker.com. So I think that anytime that our client is coming up above the manufacturer of the products, I think that's a really good sign. And we see that again here with the Furno stretcher parts. So I just want to tell you a couple things that are different here. For one, on Furno stretcher parts, we have this section where you see the three parts across the top there. That's what's called Google Shopping. Okay, and so somebody has paid Google to place their specific products to appear for certain search terms. Okay, and so that's Furno stretcher parts. So we are still #1 organic. If you look under there, there's the Furno stretcher parts page. You got the COT.com home page, and then the Furno Model 35. Those are the top 3 search results for those terms. And then again, ahead of the manufacturer itself. So Furno.com actually falls below us. So that's an extremely good place to be for us right now. And then when you do click on that Furno stretcher parts, once again, you get to a page that's all about Furno stretcher parts. Okay, and so you can see how relevance is so important to where you rank on your Google search results. The other thing to notice, if you look here on the left side here where you see all, next to that you can see shopping, you can see images. Okay, so these are different sets of results that Google will present and give you options. So some people are just looking for images. So one thing is you want to be everywhere you can be. And so we do all the things we can on the website to hopefully appear not just on your content search, but also if you're doing an image search. So you can see this first wheel here. If you type in Striker COT wheels, that very first wheel that's being displayed is us. Now, do you get a lot of traffic? Are people going to buy stuff? No, maybe, maybe not, but you're there. And so once again, you're building that brand identity, but also if they click on this image, a link comes up that takes them to the page if you want to go visit the page that has this picture. So these are things that we do to just try to be everywhere. The other thing I think is really interesting is Google has come up with this thing they call the Google Knowledge Graph box. And so when you look for a specific topic or a specific business in this case, typically what happens is you end up with the this knowledge graph over on the right side of the search results with everything that Google knows about that specific thing you're looking for. Okay, and in this case it's a business, so basically what appears is what we would call the Google Plus My Business page. Okay, and so these are generally pre-populated by Google based on white page listings or whatever, however they get their data initially, but there's a listing for just about every business that's in business. And so it's important to claim that business for yourself, to take some ownership of it, to load some photographs, to add whatever relevant information needs to, and then encourage your customers to leave you reviews. That's a big part of being present here. And here's another example. Now, this is another client of ours, Tyler Brothers Clothing, okay, in the small town of Wagner, South Carolina. You can see they've got a nice business page there, but we get these reports on a monthly basis. So this was from March, but During that month, 2,733 people saw the business. 1,000 people saw it on Google Maps. Okay, so 2,700 on Google search, 1,000 on Google Maps. 262 people asked for directions. 185 found your phone number and called your business. Okay, now this is a service that is provided by Google for free. Every small business ought to be doing this. There's really no reason not to. We strongly recommend having your own website in addition, but you absolutely ought to take advantage of everything that Google is going to give you for free. And so we strongly recommend claiming your Google My Business via Google Plus page. Now, how does stuff get ranked? So I talked a little bit so far about this, what I call on-page SEO, right? So things that are on your website. So content, words that you've written, pictures that you've, posted, these meta tags, your page titles, your heading, all these things that you do on the site is important for your ranking. But there's something even more important, and that's this concept of page rank. Okay, so page rank means how is your web page ranked compared to other pages on the internet that may be similar in content. Who's more valuable? Which one should they put at the top of the list, and which one should go at the bottom of the list? And so anything that's posted on the internet that links back to your site is considered what's called a backlink. So if somebody writes an article about you and links to your website, that's called a backlink. And if 100 people write articles and do press releases and blog posts and links, and they all link back to you, that's even better than if only just one person does it. Okay, and this concept comes from the original concept of Google. That was Sergey Brin and Lawrence Page, Larry Page. When they did that, when they came up with Google at Stanford, a big part of what they were trying to do was to emulate the work that went on at colleges. So if I wrote a paper and I did some research, and let's just say five other scientists went out and did research, and they kind of referred back to my work, that would be really good. That shows some value in what I've done, the fact that 5 other people are referencing my work. But then if you went out and did a similar kind of study and 100 people referenced your work, I think objective standards, through objective standards, people would say probably yours is more important, because you had 100 people reference it and I only had 5. So that's the concept of Google. Who's talking about your stuff, who's writing about you, who's linking back to your site. I want to just take you for, if you back up for a second, I was showing you the different types of info or the search results page. Okay, so I just want to take a brief moment and look at how Google search results work. The Google search results has evolved significantly since the time of that paper. Okay, at the beginning it was really all about text, and then they added images, etc. Well, now, I'm sorry, I pulled the wrong one up. So now, what this is just an example. You can't actually recreate these search results, but it's an example of a kind of a composition of many different searches. Okay, but Google tries to identify what exactly you're looking for, and based on that, may provide a different set of information. So, for example, if it thinks you're looking for music, it's going to show you a list of songs. At the top here is something they call the local carousel. So this is where, in this case, they think you're looking for tacos, and so you've got a list of every taco joint within, close distance of where you are. A few other ones that I think are worth noting. As we scroll down here, this is Taco Bell ads. Okay, so these are just your basic Google AdWords. Okay. Then you've got your shopping ads, which is again part of Google AdWords. On the right side over here, you've got food, has specifically nutritional value and that kind of thing. Over here, F, you can see the images, which we already talked about. That's basically just the Google images. For Taco Bell, you can see this knowledge graph with everything about Taco Bell. The Frontera Grill, if you look at this one here in G and H, these are what's called site links. So site links make your listing much more likely to be clicked on. Okay, and this is something you can create and manage yourself. Ultimately, Google decides whether or not to show your site links, but a rule of thumb is that, you know, if you have enough information on your website and you have you know, really well organized site, it's very likely that you'll have your site links appearing. And you can see YouTube videos, etc. And so anyway, that's just kind of to give you an idea, and there's maps as well, just to give you an idea of the variety of ways that Google may present to a user information that it finds on the internet. The other interesting thing, if you go back, at least on this carousel, one of the things that Google is doing more and more, which we don't necessarily like, but Google more and more is trying to keep you from even having to leave this results page. So if they can give you all the information you have they have right here, the longer they keep you on this results page, the more they can get you to click on ads and, you know, collect more money for them. Okay, so they don't really want to click. They don't want you to click on something that's going to take you to my website as much as they'd like you to just stick around right there on the Google result page. So that's just something to consider as well. So finding a niche is critically important, right? So if you look at this search, go back to Striker Power Pro Parts, one of the reasons we're number one is because we don't have a lot of competition, right? There's not like hundreds of people selling Striker Power Pro Parts. We're in a nice little small little niche. You know, we've got an area that there's just not a tremendous amount of competition, at least not online. And so we were able to capture this number one spot fairly quickly, and we want to continue to do all the things necessary to keep that number one spot. All right, this is kind of demonstrating something called the long tail. And so the theory of the long tail is really critically important to understanding how to be found on the internet. So the theory of long tail is that our culture and our economy is shifting away from a relatively small number of hits and toward a huge number of niches in the tail, okay? And so the simple example of that to me is television. When I was a kid, most people had 3 or 4 TV channels. And if you were in an urban area, you might have, you know, 10 or 20 channels. But now everybody's got cable with 150 channels. We have things like YouTube, which have evolved after cable, which has, you know, possibly millions of channels. And so you're getting into an area where there's more and more focus on a more specific topic. And so there's opportunities out here in this long tail. You don't have to reach millions of people. You just have to reach a small group of people with an interest in what it is you have. And I think CopDoc is a really good example of that. And so with that, I want to get back to the main, you know, the key topic here, which is your website. So when you're building your website, there's a handful of things that I'd like you to consider. So the first is, I like to show this page because it shows the most popular website on the internet, which is google.com. And it's also probably the simplest web page on the internet. We've got a logo, we got a search bar, and we got 2 buttons. And so it really it is kind of, to me, the model of simplicity. And so it really kind of reinforces to me how important it is for you to think about the purpose of your website. There's a tendency to always want something flashy, you know, something beautiful, something sexy. And really what works is simplicity. And I think Google's a really great example of that. And so what is Google's purpose for this page? Google's purpose is for people to type in searches so they can present you search results so that you can click on something and they can collect money from their customer. So Google never loses sight of that. They had tried things over the years to create much more busier home pages, but they keep going back to the most simplest form, which is just a search bar and a button or two. So when you're building a website, one of the most important things is you've got to have a website that you can keep up to date. You've got to be thinking about how you want to produce more content and information for your website. Hopefully you have something to say, something to share. HTML is the traditional technology. It's still the base of everything that we do on the web. But the old days of where you would code pages with HTML, it's really not a very efficient way to approach the problem of building a web page. HTML is just difficult to maintain. Things change and you end up with a lot of maintenance issues. So where we've more or less gone is to these things called content management systems, okay? And so we call these open source content management systems. Open source means that the software itself is free, that the code is readily available, that people can modify. There's generally these communities of people who are supporting the code and improving the code. And just to give you an idea, also you got these online services, right? So you've probably heard or seen commercials for Wix or Squarespace or GoDaddy, where you basically would go on and they got like some kind of site builder program and you go through the thing and boom, there you go, you got a website. Generally, you're going to have less control over things there. You got less flexibility. You have like a monthly fee probably. So, you know, those are legitimate options, and certainly a lot of people use those options and can do very well with your website. So I'm biased toward the open source content management systems. WordPress is very popular. Drupal a little less so, but that tends to be my favorite for the kind of the flexibility and things that it gives you. This is a Google Trends chart that shows the comparison of these three. So basically what Google Trends does is it's when people type searches, people type things into Google, they keep track of it. And so they can tell you how many people search for X compared to how many people search for Y. So in this case, they tell us, the red line is WordPress. And you can see WordPress is pretty steady over the years. That's all the way back to 2012. You can see Joomla is kind of on a decline, and then you can see Drupal pretty much steady. But you can also see that WordPress is about 10 times bigger than Drupal. And so anyway, either of those are a pretty safe bet for an open source content management system. Another key consideration as you're building a website is mobile usage. So this is a chart that shows back to 2008, 2009, how there was a time when people only used desktop computers to reach or laptops to reach the internet. People didn't do it on their mobile phones, and so over time that has gotten more and more. And you can see where these lines have converged, and what that pretty much. I would say last year, most every website saw kind of that transition where mobile and tablets now is more than 50% of our traffic. So everything we do website-wise, we try to always be thinking mobile first, and everything needs to work on mobile first and foremost. And this is just an example of what we call responsive design, okay? So you have an adaptive or a responsive theme on your website, and what that does is it automatically detects what type of device it is, or at least the size of the device, and then it reformats itself based on that device. This is a chart I'm not going to get into too much, but this is kind of some things that if we do a deeper dive in a later session, we might get into more. But these are the factors to consider. How does your website look and feel? Is it consistent with your brand? Accessibility, mobility, we talked about. Search engine, we talked about. Being properly coded and all those things. Having the right content, promoting it on social media, measuring results, which we'll talk about more throughout these 9 weeks, and then structure, content, and performance. Just the fact that it needs to be, you need to have a solid foundation on your website. It needs to be something that doesn't break. This site, this diagram is one where I mostly like to use this to emphasize the one of the problems that I've seen a lot of small businesses do as they're building a website, and that is they think about building it, and they think about building it and then setting it there and leaving it alone. And so at the top you can see kind of the construction phase of an online presence, right? We build a website, we do some SEO, we set up some social media properties, and then we go live. And what I've seen consistently many times is a company puts all that money into it, puts it up there, and then walks away and goes back to making widgets or whatever it is they do. And so one of the things that we do at Broad Street Consulting that has worked well for our clients, and I think pretty much all of our clients are bought into this, is that we're all about supporting the system after it's live. And we believe that, you know, this website, this online presence is an asset, it's an investment that you've made, and we want to see that asset continue to grow and return for you. And if you just sit it up there on the shelf, it will, you know, eventually not be as productive, okay? And so what does that involve? Well, you know, it involves hosting, right? You've got to have a place to put the website, a server and all that, some kind of technical support. There's always issues. I've never known any, you know, hosting platform to not have problems or issues. And so, and then content, you know, how do you keep your site up to date? You know, it needs to be easily updated. And then from there, we do pay-per-click, being found on Google AdWords, right? Search marketing, SEO, social media, email, etc. We do display ads, search ads, geo-targeting, reviews. So these are all the things that you can do after the fact to take that investment and make it work for you and your business. All right, and then back to the original chart, just to kind of recap what we've done today, right? We talked a little bit about website strategy, how the things that you might want to consider as you're building your website. And then we talked about search strategy, and particularly SEO, and some of the basics there that you can, of how you can be found on the internet. And then lastly, we talked about content strategy, which we will be talking about much more next week. If you look at where we're at on this 10 sessions, next week we're going to be talking about content strategy, SEO, and we will start on our pay-per-click discussions. And so that's where we are, that's where we're headed, and I'm going to open it up for Q&A, or let Marjorie help me do that. Not hearing you, Marge.
Sorry about that. We have one question, which is why on the Google listings do they show up differently? But like, how can you choose your own way that it shows?
Right. Let me see if I can get back there. Okay, so yeah, Google really owns the formula for what they're going to display. I don't know, you know, I'll just give you an example of these site links. Okay, so here's this. Look at this Frontera grill. This is kind of typical. Several of our clients, most of our clients, I would say, you know, have the ability to appear with these site links. So, you know, you see the main listing, and then you see these sub listings, which are, you know, important pages. You can do a certain amount of control of that. You can suggest things to Google, but ultimately Google is going to decide which of these to display, when to display them, and whether to display them or not at all. What Google typically does, remember, Google is like an ongoing science experiment. It really is. And so what they'll typically do, they'll display, for example, they might display two of these. They'll display menus, dinner, and lunch or whatever, and then they'll see which one gets the most clicks or which one doesn't get clicked, and then they'll drop the one that's not getting any clicks, because they're all about clicks, right? So Google is always looking for clicks, and that's how it determines value. If this is a very, this real estate on this page is extremely valuable to Google, and so they don't want to waste it. They don't want to put anything on the search results that they don't think has a good chance of, getting clicked upon. So to answer the question, I would say it's extremely difficult to control exactly what's going to appear. My argument and my suggestion is, be ready for anything. Like, make sure you've got stuff in the knowledge graph, make sure you've got stuff out there in your images, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to try to appear no matter what location. If you look at the maps, right? So you want to make sure you have your location stuff all set. We'll talk about that in more detail in a later session as well.
And one more question, will you be discussing how to market a service rather than a product in a niche market?
Yeah, let me just think about that. As far as my agenda, I certainly can, and I will. But I mean, the same principles apply. I agree that you're not going to, for example, have a shopping list. You're not going to go into Google Shopping if you're selling consulting services. But I would also argue that the more defined you are, the more content you have on your website, the more clearly you spell out your little specialties and niches, for example, all improve your chances of being found. And so I think most everything I'm telling you is going to apply whether you're in a service or product.
That's all for the questions that I have.
Okay. Well, I am going to leave the chat room open. I had a suggestion the other day that maybe we could leave it open, and some folks might be shy and not want to talk in front of others. I don't know, but either way, I'm going to leave the session open for a few more minutes. We can stop the recording.